All right, welcome back. We are here with week 4 of the Declutter and Get Organized 2025 challenge. And for this week's prompt, we are talking about actual tubs and bins in our craft room. Last week we did the big closet storage, whatever you might have, and decluttered that. And then this week we're going to kind of fine tune, go into individual buckets and start clearing those out. And putting those back into our space. So it seems like it's the same process that we've been doing, right? Just in individual buckets.
It is. It's great. So yeah, like bucket by bucket or bin by bin or box by box. Everybody loved that box in that 1 hour better that you and I did together. We're like, oh, I related to the box at the end that was so overwhelming to you, right? Like it feels like, oh, it didn't work on that. That's going to be too. So the first thing to remember is that when you know there are important sentimental items in the bin, it feels like everything in there is of that same importance. It just feels like I know there's a bunch of stuff in there and I know there's really important stuff in there. So there's a bunch of really important stuff in there. Instead, with zero commitment, like zero expectation, the first thing I would recommend that you do is give yourself permission to just open it up and look with no commitment. I'm just going to look in here. I might move a few things. Don't take anything out, but just move a few things around like within it and just see. Because if you're finding that, okay, I can't even look for trash, just do that first. And then come back in an hour or the next day or whatever and, say, is there any trash? Usually what's going to happen is your brain is going to have adjusted to what's in there and it will be less overwhelming to you, right? Like that's part of what builds that decluttering momentum. So come in and have your trash bag, a donate bag or box, whatever you've got. And then if your goal is to empty this out, then that's it, right? Like, so you just need those 2 things in your feet. And so you go item by item, first looking for the trash, because the reason we get the trash out of there is that it helps us see individual items, right? Because we're looking, is this trash, whatever. But it also just kind of clarifies the space and helps us know, so that it's not as overwhelming when we get to the hard stuff, right? If there's anything easy, is there anything in here that I already know what to do with? Get that out, go do that thing with it, right? Go take it wherever you already know that it goes, wherever it has an established home. And is there anything in here that's an obvious donation? A lot of times with boxes that have been closed up for a while, that's a step that you really can get a lot of stuff out of there. Even if it's not, you'll still get, keep going. And then even if you got no trash, no obvious donations, no easy stuff out of there, and you're like, it's still completely full and I haven't been able, okay, then you go one item at a time. If I needed this item, where would I look for it first? Assuming that this box did not exist because I don't want this box to exist, right? So it's the same thing that we did in your craft room. You take it out and you go, where would I look for this first? And then you go put it in that spot and you acknowledge the reality. Is there room for it there or not? Is there something else that isn't as important to me that I can let go to create the room for it, right? And then item by item, you go through and basically at that point, you're putting things in all their different places from that. So you may not get to the consolidate part, which is where we, put like items together and get rid of, the excess until it all fits easily. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're putting items in. The key thing is to take it there now and the acknowledge the reality of the space, right? So if I were to put a book on the bookshelf and the bookshelf is completely full, then I don't have to say, oh no, I got to build another bookshelf, which is my natural tendency, right? Instead, I say, okay, which book do I like less than this book? I still like it, but this book is most important. Sometimes the thing that was in the box for 7 years that you forgot about, you realize, actually, this thing from the box is less important than the stuff I've had on my shelf and I've been using all these years, right? And that's something that you're able to let go.
Right. So
that, and it's very quick and simple to say, but I know it's really hard. But following the steps, which you can get it at aslobcomesclean.com/5. That's where you sign up for my newsletter and get the 5-step process. But following those steps leads you through all of that. And then you have the steps to get back to when you start to feel flustered and overwhelmed.
Yeah. I know that for crafters, and I am the same, I started out crafting with a 2x2 Kallax, right? And now I have however many huge systems, right? So do you have advice or thoughts about when is it time for the bookshelf to just be that's the space? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because there's craft rooms that it can be filled, right? And you're like, but I have this space and I have this space. And some crafters, they work well in that space and others might not, right? Mm-hmm. But do you have thoughts about like when to say when?
Yeah. So you determine the storage system according to the space that you have, not the stuff that you wish you could keep. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what that means is, you have a room that you're able to devote to crafting. Mm-hmm. That's great. Not everybody has that, right? And so we have to be honest about that. You started out with this, right? So where you go, okay, what is the space? Like, even if you started out with a tub this big and that's all you have, your question becomes, where would I look first for this tub? Mm-hmm. Okay. And if I would look first for it in the hallway closet, because that's where I can put that, and then I get that down and I do stuff or whatever, then that hallway closet where that tub goes, that's the container that determines how much of a container I can have to put stuff in, right? So if it's empty, or you're able to say, I can get rid of that other stuff because I want another tub for crafting things, then I can fill up that if it's available and it's not taking up space that we need for everyday lives, right? Like this is the thing of, you can have all the craft stuff, but if it means there's no room for your children's coat, then that's where the problem, comes in. And you go, okay, this is the actual things that we have to do.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I really, really want to do that are very important to me. And so I let those things make the decision. And maybe it helps me realize, oh, I've actually got coats from the last 5 years and I could get rid of 4 of those and have a little more room for craft. Like all these things kind of, it's math, but I don't like to do math, right? Like, but it's basically thinking along those lines of the space where I would look first for my craft stuff. How much space does it allow for me to keep? And then if, as you start to look at it, things like that, you might realize, what, we've actually got a playroom and my kids are all now of a different age and they don't even play in there anymore because they've aged out of those things. Okay, now we could make maybe a craft
right.
or table in there or a space or something. So it all goes according to the space that you have versus the stuff that you wish you could store. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense for sure. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to get to decluttering our tubs. Tub after tub after tub.
After tub after tub, and it will make a huge difference. I mean, here's the thing, like you're going to run across things where you go, oh, no, I bet the process doesn't work on this. It literally will always work. I say that, and I know it sounds like I'm being, like I don't understand or whatever, but I know it works because I actually do understand. And I had to come up with a process that worked in all my different situations because every space in my home was a completely cluttered mess. And so I had to figure out how to work through it.
Yeah. And it definitely helps you if you get stuck, go back to the 5 steps. I'm stuck. What do I do? Yeah. Okay. What else can I put in its home? Or I think it helps with the getting stuck part. Definitely. And with that, if you are stuck, I recommend reaching out to your crafty friends who are also decluttering and talking to them as well. And I had another crafty friend and we will have a video about that. Or join the Facebook group and chat with us. Post your pictures, and we would love to give you encouragement and support. It's not always the easiest thing to be decluttering. So, and keep your questions or post your questions. And then Dana is going to come back the final week of January and answer those questions. So write them down, jot them down, don't lose your notepad that you wrote on.
Just go ahead and send the email to Cara, and then that way.
That's a good idea. Send an email. I'll have my email in the description, and then you can say, hey, what about this? What about that? And then she's going to take time and answer those questions. All right. Thank you again so much. It's been a good journey so far, and I'm excited to get crafting again. So, yay.